Namaskar, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Aadi Achint. Pakistan, Pakistan, Pakistan. Where to start, where to end, where to begin, where to finish, I don't know. The country itself wants to finish itself, so I don't know where to begin the conversation. But I will do one thing and I will introduce Mr. Tilak Devasher. Sir, thank you so much. Pleasure to have you on the platform.
Thank you, Adi. Thank you for calling me again. Always a pleasure talking to you.
Sir, I want to talk 27th Amendment, sir. Asim Munir getting crowned. Let's start with that. What's your, initial assessment? Is he now the president without being the president? Having the powers of the president and not the responsibilities of the president? What is it?
देखो ट्राई तो कर रहा है हिंदी और इंग्लिश बोथ इंग्लिश
वो मर्जी से दोनों में बात कर लेते हैं, हिंदी में भी बात कर
ओके
लेते हैं.
ओके सो basic mudda, the basic issue is he doesn't want to step down as army chief on 28th of November. So the 26th amendment was that the term of the army chief was made 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Now the doubt is, does he require a notification that on 20th November 25 he gets 2 years, or a fresh appointment that gives him 5 years on 20th November 25, so he carries on till 2030. Or he takes 2 years now and takes 5 years in 27, so carries on till 32. You see, the man is such a maneuvering and a manipulative fellow. He wants the maximum. But he's being tempted that why should he become president? So he has a lot of irons, in the fire. Now he's had 2 meetings with the Sharifs. One meeting was in Murray in last month in October. It was indecisive; they couldn't come to a conclusion. And another meeting was held about 3 days ago in Jati Umrah, where again the issue was discussed. When Nawaz Sharif was there, Shehbaz, Mariam, the family, and so there again the issue was, I think Nawaz Sharif offered him that you take 2 years now, and we will even give you a written order for 5 years after 27. You keep that order with you now in case you think that we may diddle you out of it 2 years from now. But abhi to sirf tum 2 saal kar lo. And the reason that he gave, Nawaz Sharif, was that look, a 5-year a fresh appointment now will create a lot of dissatisfaction among the junior officers in the army, because people who are, let's say, major generals today will know that they have no chance to become army chief. Not everybody becomes army chief, but at least the hope remains alive that you can become army chief. So you would retire out about 2030, 3 stars, and it will cause a lot of demoralization in the army. So do it step by step. So Asim Munir's response, I don't know what he said, whether he insisted on this or not. But before that, Asim Munir wants the 27th Constitutional Amendment. Now, from what has come out in the media, in fact, it was Bilawal Bhutto who broke the story and said he had been approached by Shehbaz Sharif to seek the support of the PPP for passing of the 27th Amendment. And he mentions the key things. So there's a lot of padding in that, but the crucial amendment is to amend Article 243. Article 243 is that the command and control of the armed forces of Pakistan shall vest with the federal government.
Correct.
Now, the justification being given for changes in this is that when the constitution was promulgated, there was no post of field marshal. Now that there is a post of field marshal, you have to give it some sort of a constitutional cover. Now, how do you do it? So one option is that earlier, before Zulfikar Ali Bhutto became Prime Minister, there used to be a post of Commander-in-Chief. During the British time, there was a Commander-in-Chief. Claude Auchinleck was the Commander-in-Chief, and he was head of the Army, Navy, Air Force. He was boss of all the 3 forces. So one option is that you recreate the post of Commander-in-Chief, have Asim Munir as the Commander-in-Chief. Will that satisfy him? He possibly wants that the control of the armed forces should be taken away from the federal government and given to the commander in chief or given to the army or whatever it is, so that he will appoint the army, navy, air force chiefs. He will appoint the 3 stars, 4 stars. Everything about the defense will be done by him, and he'll have his own secretariat and things like that. Now, that is a huge, huge step. There's no need for martial law thereafter, because whoever
Yep.
becomes commander in chief, you're basically hiving off Ministry of Defense and the 3 armed forces from the civil to one individual who is the commander in chief. Now, will the politicians succumb or stoop to that level to cut off their own feet in perpetuity? Because the only time the civilian politicians have some control over the army is when the time comes for appointment of an army chief or extension to an army chief. They have some control in the sense the man, Janab, this kind of a thing happens. So will they give that away in perpetuity? That is the, big question. Then the 27th Amendment also has a couple of other things. Judiciary will be totally finished because they now want to have a separate constitutional court which will decide the main issues. And the current Supreme Court will decide cases of land, murder, appointments,
Basic.
that kind of a thing. Basic, which can be done by the High Court or even by the lower courts. But this constitutional court will then be packed by the people of choice. They will also have transfer of judges without their concurrence. So any judge who's uncomfortable in Balochistan talking about human rights, they can pick him up and post him to, anywhere else. Today you can't do that. Today you can't push out judges without their consent. So that is the other major change they're bringing. Then they are diluting the 18th Amendment, which had devolved administration of departments like population, health, education to the provinces. They want to take that back from the provinces, and the constitutional protection of the National Finance Commission, which had assured as per a formula devolution of money to the provinces, that constitutional protection is also being removed. So in other words, the federal government need not devolve X amount of money to the provinces that it is constitutionally bound to do. They can devolve X minus 5. So because the army feels that too much of money is being given to the provinces, so their budget is getting affected. They want more money with the federal government so that the federal government can then give more money to the army under the defense budget. Now, this was the two things which are the PPP always touts as its major achievement. Because it is under Zardari's watch that the 18th Amendment was passed.
Separation of powers and this and that, yeah.
Yeah, especially devolving money to the provinces.
Yeah.
So now the question is, will the PPP agree? Since they need a 2/3 majority both in the Senate and in the National Assembly. They have a 2/3 majority provided the PPP is on board. Now, once the PPP signs on to this, their government in Sindh gets affected. Of course, they are the ones in Sindh. That means they are saying, ठीक है, हमें इतने पैसे नहीं चाहिए. आप departments जो है education का, population का, आप वो ले लीजिए. NFC के पैसे भी ले लीजिए. So Bilawal is asking them, what do I get? What is in it for me? Am I becoming Prime Minister? Am I becoming Deputy Prime Minister? So there's a lot of tussle going on that. What you see, Zardari is almost past his prime. He's not an effective thing for the next maybe 2-3 years, but he's beyond it. But Bilawal has 30-40 years to go. So is he going to cut off his politics? But then there is another thing which is dangled on his head, which is Murtaza Bhutto's son. Murtaza Bhutto's son, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto Jr., is about 35 years of age. He's been resurrected. He's in Karachi. And the army is telling Bilawal, "Ki beta tu samajh ja, we also have options of a Bhutto."
No wonder this guy I call him Billo only. I can't call him Bilawal or whatever his name is. Billo was tweeting, "Oh, gee, please come support this. This is very important and all that." ये वो उसने काफी बड़ा एक लंबा चौड़ा tweet डाला था कल.
Basically exposing what the army is planning to do. So the army has got this Zulfikar Ali Bhutto Jr. also waiting in the wings. He's not a full-fledged politician, he's an artist.
वो
But
बना देंगे.
उसमें क्या वो तो
बना देंगे वो.
software उसका update हो जाएगा, they'll make him. So, the next two, what Munir wants, that first you have the 27th Amendment, get all the powers and everything ready, and then he goes into extension. And I think the 27th Amendment bill is going to be introduced within this week. We are on Wednesday today, so maybe by Friday it will be introduced and it will be passed within a day because they have the requisite majorities in the National Assembly and in the Senate.
When you see,
and in any case, 28th he retires, so that just leaves about 2.5 weeks for his own this thing. So things are really going to get very interesting in Pakistan in the next 2 weeks.
I don't think he's going to retire. I mean, he will make half the country retire before he does. That's a different story.
Yeah.
When we look at this whole game, of course, America has tasked him out with some stuff, right? America has told him कि देखो ये करना है, ये करना है, ये करना है, ये करना है. And I'm sure क्या नाम है, your the politicians are also aware क्या करना है. So I don't see a question wherein वो आर्मी को छोड़ो, अमेरिका बड़े बापू को कैसे मना कर सकते हैं? That can't happen. यहाँ पर सर, what do you think America has tasked him with? क्योंकि ये जो अफगानिस्तान में चक्कर हुआ है, bombing of Kabul, I mean, that was stupid. There was no need of doing that. Even if you're so super angry, you don't bomb someone's capital, and not on the first night. It's stupid. That basically, to me, is a provocation, hardcore provocation, done purposefully to create chaos in this region. And you see the chaos starting up. There are ISIS K is active, this is active, that is active. It's a complete proxy war which is happening here. So, isko kya responsibility di hai to basically start this place on? I mean, the fire, is he the fire starter of this region?
You see, I suspect the price that Pakistan has had to pay for the lunch, the bill has come in for now. Lunch तो खा लिया जनरल साहब ने, और उसमें जो उसको टास्किंग की गई, as you asked, I think if you look at the timing of before the bombing took place, suddenly out of the blue, Trump starts talking about Bagram. He says we should never have left it. It's the largest airbase here, and we built it. We need to have it back, and bad things will happen to the Taliban if they don't hand it back. The Taliban must have been licking their lips, ki aaja beta, fir aaja. But at least Trump would have realized that they can't go in. So General Saab would say, "Arey, kya baat, aapko Bagram chahiye? Main de deta hu Bagram." So there is some, I can't put the dots together at the moment, but this is something which bears close watching. But you're right, because what did they think that if you go and take out or try and hit Kabul, the Taliban will not do anything about it? They probably did not expect the kind of reaction of what the Taliban did. They opened up the entire Durand line, and then they have the TTP sitting right inside Pakistan anyway. So there is some connection. So this is one aspect of it, to create chaos in Afghanistan, Pakistan. But Pakistan didn't calculate what the blowback would be. Second is on minerals. You see, on the strategic minerals, the US was there for 20 years. And there were a lot of reports at that time that they tried to search, tried to find out, but security was such a concern. Even building roads to where the mines were was impossible.
Yeah. Even now, so.
Even now it's going to be. The Chinese have not been able to exploit the Desainik mine where there's copper. They have not been able to do it. So, Munir would have said, "Sir, this is Sunday ko la jao na." in KPK and in Baluchistan, we have a similar kind of a thing. And, they said that first consignment. So obviously, two things that he has been tasked with. One is on strategic minerals. Second is on Afghanistan, on Bagram. And also, I suspect, I have no, and this is purely my assessment, no conclusive proof, is Sir Creek. Why did suddenly Pakistan create two more marine battalions in Sir Creek? Massive three hovercrafts deployed there. Naval chief has made two visits over there. India caught on to it very fast. And Rajnath Singh ji went there and warned them that, don't try anything. And then, Trishul is happening almost at the same place. So is somehow the other Sir Creek also involved in this entire gamemanship between the US and Pakistan? Is there something in Sir Creek that the Americans are aware of because of satellite imagery? And they asked Munir, ki, bhai, let us take a look at Sir Creek. Is it because of oil? Is it because of gas? Or even in the exclusive economic zone? Is there something more than just what meets the eye? So I can think of these three things.
When you see Circry, it's a vulnerability, probably. They're
But
trying to.
if you let sleeping dogs lie, we were not doing anything in Sir Creek. Now they have raised it, brought it to the focus, brought it to the forefront. And what Rajnath Singh said, that one road to Karachi comes via Sir Creek, that has really shaken them up.
The only thing I see in that, I mean, I've not seen the geological this thing, so can't say anything about the resources and anything. Only thing I figure out is that the Americans are coming into Karachi. They probably want a little more space. Try and create some thoda sa buffer area and all that stuff. And to me, Sir Creek was also connected with the refineries.
See,
That we have.
There are already two refineries in Karachi. And that's why the Saudis were hoping to build one in Gwadar, not in Karachi, because Karachi is already crowded,
Yeah.
So they were planning to this Aramco thing in Gwadar. So I think even the Americans would look at west of Karachi, not coming
No, I'm
towards Circle.
targeting our refineries.
Okay.
That was a target, right? They were talking about that, and Adani Ambani is one of the favorite things.
Yeah. Even the this other refinery with this company, Russian company, which is half 50% share.
Yeah.
I don't know whether the Pakis would, because they know they'll get us real bashing, even if they try anything close to it. And it's very well guarded. So I think I personally think it's more to do with prospecting for gas and oil in the Sir Creek region once it is sorted out.
So when we look at, अब थोड़ा सा इसको थोड़ा broaden करते हैं सर. पश्तूनों को इन लोगों ने इतना सब कुछ यहाँ पर करा है. They've done from history, and we were talking offline about it. And you're one of the authorities that I am privileged to actually ask a question to. When you look at the Pashtuns today, so they've gone far beyond recovery in terms of ये कोई जो de-radicalization, resettlement और ये सब जो बकवास करते रहते हैं. That's not going to happen. And एक चीज जो, I mean, when I read TTP literature right now, and I follow a lot of these TTP accounts, what they are talking about is, boss, we don't need to recruit Afghans anymore. These are all Pakistanis. It probably is a narrative, probably isn't this thing, because Pakistanis keep blaming them and Afghans can wash their hands off. How do you think this region is going to go forward, sir? क्योंकि पाकिस्तान का प्रॉक्सी है ISKP, अफगान तालिबान का प्रॉक्सी है इधर पे, and both are in similar areas, but TTP is more acceptable local population में, because वो उनके रिश्तेदार हैं, ये हैं, वो हैं. डेरा, all the deras are famous for it. Along the Bannu line, that entire thing is famous for it. How do you think this thing is going to expand? I mean, because their operations are becoming expensive there. What is the end goal by triggering this, by whoever powers that be triggered this entire thing?
See, I don't know what their end goal is. because it's literally like putting your hand in a beehive.
Mm.
The beehive is now extremely active. In fact, as I mentioned in my first book, the Pashtuns on both sides of the Durand line have got activated. And for them to settle down will require a great deal of statesmanship and a great deal of acumen and vision. Right now, I don't see anybody having that. So, given the situation as it is today, the TTP is on the up. There are no-go areas in FATA, in the agency, especially Waziristan and Bajwa.
In
There are
Peshawar,
all,
sir.
yeah, there are no-go areas, even in the settled districts. You mentioned Bannu, Badan, Peshawar, where at night, the police guys, the security forces just lock themselves up and sit in a huddle.
Sir,
But they
Dera
are,
is curfew is at 4 o'clock in the evening.
yeah. And they are following the same model as the Taliban did. The Taliban's most effective weapon was the night letters. There also all the security forces would vanish as soon as the sun set. And then the Taliban would come to all these villages and local areas and put up what are called night letters. And night letters would simply state that don't cooperate with the NATO US forces.
Mm.
If you cooperate with them, we know who you are. They can't stay here forever. Once they go, we are going to come after you and settle scores then. One handwritten night letter would be pasted on the walls of hundreds of villages at night. So in the morning when the people saw it and read it, they recognized that these people are sons of soil, they're going to be here. The Americans are going to go. Now I haven't come across or reported any TTP night letter, but I won't be surprised if they are doing it also. And instead of the Americans or NATO, they'll be saying, look, these Punjabis are going to go. रहे तो पंजाब पश्तून ही रहेंगे ना
सर
और
यही तो
हमें
पंगा
मालूम है कि तुम कौन हो
यही तो पंगा है सर डिफेंस मिनिस्टर इनका आके बोलता है पश्तूनों ने नमक हरामी करी है आई वाज लाइक व्हाट
Yeah. And this racial discord is something which I was coming to. Racial discord today, in the last 2-3 years, I've seen it heightened tremendously. It is, of course, happening in KPK. It's even happening in the urban areas of Punjab. In Lahore University, Karachi University, the animosity against the Pashtuns and the Baloch
it's increasing
has now gone up exponentially. And they are being told, why do you come and you go back to your own area? You're not Pakistani, that kind of a thing.
yeah
Now, all that rankles, all that hurts. And then you add to it the Afghan refugees, the manner in which they've been thrown back to Afghanistan. The ill treatment to them. They've been asked to wind up everything within 2 days. And people who they spent 20 years with bought their shops at a pittance or refused to even pay. कि तुमने तो जाना ही है 2 दिन के बाद मैं अपने पैसे क्यों लगाऊं? I'm going to take it over anyway. And police extorting money from them. So all this resentment has not only with the Afghan refugees, it has also happened with the Pakistani Pashtuns.
sir this seems to me a trigger why
Yeah.
would you do this
Stupidity.
oh
It is pure stupid. No, that's one major. The Punjabi hubris.
huh.
कि ये क्या मैं I am the Mawla Jat. Yeah. So that is one. Not realizing what are the long-term consequences.
sir
Not
but
realizing the long.
I'm going to be a little argumentative please forgive me I'll apologize to you in person also in the next couple of days but so he's doing the same thing in Sindh he creates protests right and then he picks up the leaders beats the living daylight out of them and kills them or leave them in the street he did that with the TLP Saad Rizvi is missing in action since then
Yeah.
he's doing the same thing in POJK he did the same thing with the Imran Khan followers they picked he didn't care if it was general's wife or whoever it was or general's daughter he picked them up in the middle of the night threw them in prison and told them listen I am the man So he's doing this purposeful kind of, you know,
Yeah.
nagging, nigging, whatever you may want to call it. So that's my argument, and that's why I feel that this is planned.
You see, this is what Munir, remember in one of his speeches, he had said, we have to become a hard state. And this is his definition of a hard state. Hard state means danda. You know, सबको डंडा मारो, country को sort out मैं ही करूंगा. अरे यार, you can't do it, people, before you have tried.
Yeah,
You think you can sort out the Afghans? 20 years the US and NATO tried. 10 years the Soviets tried. The British tried for 100 years. You can't do it. And, if you look at all the other nationalities, the Baloch, the Sindhis, they've been on the soil in their land much before Pakistan was created. After all, Afghanistan was created in 1757.
correct, sir.
अभी तुम तो 1947 में पैदा हुए हो यार. You are tackling ancient people. Show a little bit of respect. But my belief is this. I mean, I'm Punjabi. This is sheer Punjabi hubris and stupidity.
Yeah,
That,
I can.
Home Minister saying, Balochistan तो एक SHO की मार है. कर लो यार एक SHO से see if you can sort out Balochistan.
कहता है 1500 लोग हैं. Asim Munir और he said they're small 1500 people
Yeah.
will deal.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Try
They're not
dealing
ready.
with it.
सर जाफर एक्सप्रेस जब बाहर निकलती है, आई थिंक द ट्रेन ड्राइवर इज पेड लाइक 3-4 पाकिस्तानी लाख. तू रख यार, तू जाना, मैं नहीं जा रहा.
I'm sure no insurance company sells insurance to people traveling on the Jafar Express.
You going to Jafar? No, your insurance policy is cancelled. I'm not.
So I think it's to a large extent it is that. I know what you're trying to figure out, that are they doing it deliberately to provoke? You see, one reason could be that Asim Munir could be trying to create so much of chaos in Pakistan that it makes it easy for him to impose emergency. And people will say, "Come, hame bachao," and impose emergency and take over martial law. But whether he would risk that, whether the army will support him in that, that is the question. After
I've never been able to understand why would Americans leave so many weapons in Afghanistan. I have nothing against the Taliban. I don't care. They do what they want to in their country. They don't come to mine. The day they come to mine and do stupid things, I'll start caring. I don't care. उनका अपना country है जो करने दो. Why would they leave so many weapons there? That is one of the greatest of history. Oh, gee, Americans wanted to strengthen the Taliban before they left. Okay. With that much, 696,000 rifles. Okay.
And what rifles, yeah? Sniper rifles, thermal imaging, night vision glasses, all that. That will remain a mystery for a long time to come. But was it a deliberate leaving them with the wherewithal to fix Pakistan for what Pakistan did to the United States?
Is it only Pakistan, sir? Because that area of geography connects to China, connects to Russia, connects to India, connects to Iran.
Now, in fact, with that kind of weaponry, you destabilize a huge area. Whole Central Asia, you've got Middle East on the other side, you've got South Asia on this side. So it's true. It's one of the reason they thing was that it was too expensive for us to take it back. That doesn't make sense. You could have drilled the barrels here. You could have made sure that make them dysfunctional. Take the bloody pin out. How difficult was that?
Bombed them.
Yeah. Put them in a warehouse and set it to fire.
Bomb it.
How difficult? How difficult?
Bombing stuff. Bomb it. I mean, simple.
Yeah.
See, then you crib ki bhai, oh gee, Taliban is doing this. You guys empowered them. So because, I get these doubts again when you look at the fact that Taliban is being paid by America.
Yeah.
So what's happening in Pakistan, America's best friend today, is being paid for by America. So
in fact, to an extent, US is paying Pakistan back in the same coin that Pakistan did for them. You see, Pakistan was an ally on the war on terror. Yet they were arming supporting, giving R&R to the Taliban, and their army trucks would go and leave Taliban at the border or even
Mhm.
across the border. So the US, at least amongst the veterans and amongst the army, Acha beta, you did this to us, huh? We're going to repay you back in the same coin.
I was reading one report of a journalist from Peshawar, sir. This gentleman is a, quite a uh, very knowledgeable person as far as terrorist groups are concerned. I'll share you some of his details. He made a startling claim, and that thing caught my eye. He said, 5,000 ऊपर नीचे ड्यूरांड लाइन में एक दिन में क्रॉस करना इज वेरी इजी. 5,000 बंदे विद असला, गाड़ी, सब कुछ, no problem. 5,000 people can cross over the Durand line in a day. In one day. That to me was, यार यहाँ पर 5 बंदे अंदर घुस जाएं, we'll bloody have the throat of the army chief on a block, you know.
So
But,
that terrain is impossible,
sir,
Impossible. It's impossible for others. It is not impossible for the Pashtuns. Especially the tribals who have been living there for centuries.
these guys work in the same terrain across us. It's not
So
that they don't. Pakistanis work in the same terrain across us in POJK, that entire bloody belt,
that
right?
terrain is, Adi, that terrain is very, very, it's far more difficult than the LOC over here. It's higher, the rocks, it's barren, it's craggy, it's very, very difficult. But those guys have been living there for centuries. It's like the back of their hand. So I'm not
Five,
surprised this chap is saying that 5,000 people can cross over. Maybe 5,000 is a bit of an exaggeration, but it's a 2,600-kilometer Durand line.
I have no
You
clue,
know,
sir. Honestly, this is something that shocked me, and I said, okay, I need to dig more. So I've been reading TTP and all that stuff since yesterday. Not easy to get their material, and half of it is propaganda. So you have to really sift stuff out. To You can make out this propaganda, by the way. They put it across in a very interesting way. So when you look at these groups, they've amalgamated, and towards the end, I'd like to ask you the last question: is that they've amalgamated 55 groups joined up to make one TTP. Then you've got the Gul Bahadur. Then you've got another two, three, tribal groups which are there in DGK and that entire region. Um, you've got the minute you come down to Quetta, you've got the Baloch and the Pashtuns both working together, sort of a thing. So वहां पर भी वो है. Spin Baldak से पूरी जो infiltration इनकी वहीं से होती है. These guys don't have a hope in hell. What are they going to tell their so-called backers 3 years down the line? Now, इसको आप आपने वो सताज तो पहना दिया उसके सिर के ऊपर. Fantastic, kudos, well done. But a year down the line, Trump is going to ask him, right? Why? So what? Then they run back to China, say sorry, and try and counterbalance America.
no, you see, they're serious problem. The TTP's strength, as per the UN Sanctions Monitoring Committee, is between 6,000 to 6,500. Now, can you imagine in an insurgency where the group is 6,500? At the best of time in Kashmir, you had about 250 to 300, the foreign militants. There's 6,500. And then you have the Taliban army itself. Then you have the Baloch fighters, all in their own terrain. The last 1 year, Pakistan army has lost over 1,100
Mm-hmm.
soldiers, over 1,100 soldiers. That is the level of casualties that they take. These includes the officers also. Couple of
Yeah.
colonels, couple of majors, couple of captains.
Today, morning, one captain,
Yeah.
Balochistan.
So that's the reason why it is hurt. It started to hurt them so much. You see, till now it is not so much. That's why they got serious in their talks, which are held in Istanbul, where they really insisted on almost cast iron guarantees from the Taliban that they will not allow TTP from their soil. And the Taliban have a very simple answer. That you tell us, are they Paki nationals or are they Afghan nationals? Obviously, they are Pakistani nationals. So if they are Pakistani nationals, why are you telling us? You control them. But this is how desperate Pakistan has become. So they've got the Saudis, they've got the Qataris, and they've got the Turks involved. कि भाई हमें इस TTP से छुटकारा पहुंचाओ. Get us out from the jungle of the TTP. Because the TTP is now saying very clearly, it is no longer about Sharia.
Yep.
It's about Pashtun nationalism. That we want control of these areas. We want to have our own Pashtun national government.
Absolutely. And
So you see, it is now the Taliban have got strategic depth inside Pakistan. Instead of Pakistan having strategic depth the other way around. Because once they take control of FATA, the next step is going to be the settled districts of KPK. The DI Khan and
the
Pannu
Dale.
and Mardan and Peshawar and, these areas.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
they're going to gradually, and the Pakistan army seems incapable, unwilling to be able to do anything about it. You can give the exercise whatever name you want. You can call them Fitna Kwarij or Fitna al Hindustan or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, you're not able to do anything about it.
Mhm.
And you will increasingly find you're not able to do anything about it because more and more people are going to join this. More and more
There-
people are going to join this.
There's no employment, there's no education, there's no opportunity, there's nothing there. What else? Pick
Yeah.
up the gun. Those guys pay, and they pay decently well, actually.
They pay far better than the Pakistan what the Pakistan army pays.
Army pays,
And
yes, sir.
both Afghans and Pakis are going to join. You see, I read a very interesting article where the Taliban, the young Taliban recruits were saying that we were trained for jihad and for
Hmm.
shahadat. अब यहाँ तो peace हो गई है, यहाँ jihad भी खत्म हो गया है, and we have been given now police duties and checkpost duties. What the hell are we doing? हमें तो ऊपर जाना है. तो चलो jihad पाकिस्तान में हो रहा है, we'll go and join jihad over there.
नहीं चले जाते. This is like back in the day, if you remember, when there were these. This guy didn't. Ayman al-Zawahiri didn't come into the picture by that time. There was Osama bin Laden, and there was another chap who was killed by Ayman al-Zawahiri back in the day itself. They used to have these debates of the near enemy and the far enemy, whether we should hit the Arab states or we should hit America itself. And actually, the near enemy won the discussion, but this other chap who was Osama bin Laden's counterpart, that chap got killed by Ayman al-Zawahiri. So they
Abu
basically
Asim. Was he Abu
Abu Asim.
Asim?
Yeah, Abu Asim. I forgot his name. So that's when they decided to hit America. So it's exactly like that right now. Near enemy and far enemy. Amazing, sir. Thank you so much. I mean, I really wanted to have this discussion because, uh, like you, I think, and I must say, the respect you command amongst Pashtuns, sir, with the understanding of that, with my just probably very tiny research, I can see where that comes from because there's just so much to know about those people.
Yeah.
It's
And people have always, the British literature has been so anti-Pashtun,
yeah,
described them as brutes, as savages,
they're
because
not.
they were getting the thick end of the stick from the Pashtuns. They weren't able, they also couldn't tackle the Pashtuns.
So there's a book written by I forget who. It's called Mujahir to Mujahid,
Yeah.
right? I think that is one of the most beautiful uh, description, or I think it's a history book. I think so. That's my
It's written
opinion.
by a professor from Peshawar University,
Harvard University. Yeah. I
Muhajir
mean,
to Mujahid.
Mujahid, beautiful book. I am trying to get my hands on it. I will be able to do it. I read online, but I really want to have a copy with me. This thing described stuff about this whole region that I don't think, apart from people like you who would know, sir, I don't think so. This was beautiful, and I think there's a lot that we can learn about this, and especially if we want to kind of deal with Afghanistan. I think it's important for us to learn about that part.
Very,
And
very important. Very important. Because we've lost that understanding because of Pakistan coming in between the kind of understanding we had pre 47. Now that we've got this Pakistan in between Afghanistan and us, we've
Mm,
lost that understanding and in touch with the
that's true.
Afghans.
That's true, sir. On that note, sir, thank you so much. Always a pleasure talking to you, and I will be seeing you in this week in person.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'll apologize to you for arguing with you, but
No, not at all. That's how knowledge increases. Yeah, that's how
so I
knowledge increases.
it's really interesting to learn because I think the next big something is going to happen in this region. you know, something is going to happen here. It's just giving all telltale signs of
No, in fact, tomorrow is going to be a very important day because
mhm,
the peace process in Istanbul is going to restart,
yeah.
and let's see if they come up with a further extension of the ceasefire. What
Hmm.
agreement do they come up with? Because both have gone back and must have talked to their principals and come back to Istanbul to talk.
Yeah.
So I think the next 2 3 days should be very interesting.
So thank you so much, sir. And to all the audience, my request is please like, subscribe, and drop your comments, drop your questions, drop your suggestions. Let us also know what you guys think about what we were discussing. And please don't forget to support the channel. Thank you, sir. Once again, namaskar.
Thank you, Adi. Wish you all the best.
Sir.